Welcome to the ESR Racers Corner. This is the third episode in the Resurrected interview series with the members of ESR, drivers, and, mostly drivers, but I mean, at some point we'll probably have Byron on here, and he's not a driver, so there you go. With me today is a former ESR GT Challenge champion, multi-time race winner within the ESR community, top contender, current platinum driver, Murray Ewonchuk. Welcome to the I still haven't decided if this really fits a podcast or not, but what this segment? There we go.
Oh, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
All right, so to check out Murray's most recent results, we'll just kind of recap it. He was in the 3D Speed series most recently, I think, in ESR. I don't think you've done anything since then, right?
Nope.
All right, and in that event, he was pretty part time, but when you were there, you were someone that people took note of, that people were concerned about. Championship contender pretty much throughout the entire season until attendance became a problem. You were a one-man team, of course, when Matt Higgs failed to attend any races. And we know I'm going to take a shot at Matt Higgs whenever I get that chance. You were the winner at Barcelona. You attended only 3 races, which is half the calendar, but still managed to finish 9th. So, I mean, that's the level of talent that we're talking about right here. So, I guess tell us a little bit about yourself, Murray.
Well, I mean, I pretty much grew up around motorsports since I was young. My dad raced dirt track in the 70s and 80s. And then we were always going to the dirt track and back in Manitoba all the time, traveling to the States, watching dirt oval, drag racing. Went with my uncle to Brainerd, Minnesota a few times, watched some NHRA. Been a big fan of Formula One, motocross, almost any form of motorsport you can imagine. I've raced motocross myself for a number of years, since retired from that because of injuries. But in a nutshell, that's it.
All right. Well, there we go. Well, you talked about Formula One, so let's dig into the F1 just a little bit here. I know not everyone's an F1 fan, but that's probably the most common form of motorsport fandom in existence. I think we could safely say that. More people know who Michael Schumacher is than, say, Sebastian Loeb or Tom Christopherson or anything like that. I guess we'll go with the classic. Who's your favorite driver on the grid now, and who in the past was your man?
I mean, in the past, and I think one of the reasons I got into Formula One was actually Mika Hakkinen. I was a big Hakkinen fan. I think it was just the calm demeanor that kind of drew me to him, and I was always behind him and big McLaren fan. I'd say currently for a driver, it either had to be Bottas or even Raikkonen.
I sense a Finnish theme to this.
I'm a big fan of Finnish drivers. I just love their ice in their veins, if you will. They just kind of show up and get things done.
They do definitely have a national identity when it comes to racing, that's for sure. Because I mean, Kimi Räikkönen has some. Kimi Räikkönen's a sillier version of Mika Hakkinen in a way, but you also have Mika Salo, who was very calm, cool, collected. Valtteri Bottas. I can't think of an exception to this rule. I watch a lot of rallycross where there's a lot of Finns, and it definitely seems to be a cultural thing with them. Calmness.
Absolutely.
So we've talked about that. So what brought you to sim racing? I guess. I mean, there's obviously the fandom, but like what were the games that got you in? Where was the hook?
The hook was definitely Formula One. Started out just playing it on console. And then I bought a wheel on the PlayStation, and it just kind of slowly snowballed from there. But what really got me to get into sim racing as a whole was the fact that I wasn't really racing motocross anymore, and I still had that desire to compete and that will to still win something and race in some way, somehow, where it's at least cost effective. Because I mean, as we all know, racing for real is extremely expensive.
People will talk about the expensive sim racing. They've not
Yeah,
looked at the budget required to run any kind of real racing. I don't think.
yeah, and that's kind of why I've really taken to sim racing and kind of kept going with it. Is I can still get that adrenaline, if you will, that feeling of competition without having to virtually balance bankruptcy.
I could definitely relate to that. Um, certainly, probably part of a more sim racers than we probably care to admit is a vicarious living of what we would like to be doing.
Yeah.
So, what games did you start with? I guess with the thing, like what games stand out? Because everyone's got their own sentimental favor. Like mine is
Mm.
always Formula 199 for the
Hmm.
PC. It was a game by Sigonis, I think is how the company was pronounced. I don't know.
Yep.
I've never heard this company's name said out loud, so I have no idea. It's a complete guess. But the 1999 season of F1, of course, just honestly a miraculous season. Probably one you very much enjoyed as well, of course, with Mika
Absolutely.
Hakkinen winning the championship. And I thought that game had everything I wanted for the time. Obviously, the physics would be laughable
Mm.
in today's age.
Mhm.
Um, the graphics were terrible compared to what we're dealing with now, but I don't know. I thought it was a little bit ahead of its time. So what is that? What is your version of that? What is your sentimental favorite?
For me, it would be Jeff Cramman's Grand Prix 3. That was the
Oh, I played
one
that one too.
that
That one's great.
it just absolutely hooked me. And then another one was NASCAR. I think it was NASCAR 2003 on the PC, was it? It was around that time, and it was one of the biggest racing games out there. It was made by Papyrus, who actually now basically runs iRacing.
Indeed. Oh, you said the dirty word, the iRacing word. Oh.
I did, but I will give them respect for the NASCAR that they had originally. That was a fantastic sim, in my opinion.
All right, all right. So let's talk about your experiences with ESR, and you can venture out into other communities if you want as well. Your career. What what moments in your career stand out? What rivals have you developed? What friendships have you developed? Just anything you want to talk about with your sim racing career, ESR or otherwise. ESR will obviously touch a little bit more to our audience, but go where you want with that.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say my biggest and probably my most cherished memory in sim racing is getting my first win in ESR at Brands Hatch, season 2 of the Sunday series. That was that was my first sim racing win on a road course ever. I had won a few times on dirt in iRacing, but I don't really count for that. Um, but that really gave me the motivation and the confidence to say like, yeah, I can actually do some damage here and be competitive. That's where I kind of really started putting in the time and effort when I showed to myself that I could actually put up some points and get a result.
Excellent, excellent. Favorite tracks. We'll hit that up next.
Favorite tracks. I mean, definitely Spa. Um, that one's always got a place in my heart. Doesn't matter what sim I'm running, I'm always gonna hit that track. I'm a big fan of Monza also. I know a lot of people find it boring, but I just love it. I don't even know why, but I just do.
I've admittedly never gotten the Monza hate. I mean, I suppose to a certain degree I do. It's a bit overplayed. It's a track that
Mm,
we've seen far too many times and so on. So I mean, there are some things there, but
yeah.
there's also there's some unrational hatred I think towards Monza about what kind of what it is as a track. I guess it's one that delivers some excellent racing.
Yeah.
And
You
I've never
know,
understood the boring moniker.
I'm I mean, in all honesty too, like, yeah, I kind of see where people can get bored of it because it is overdone. Like we've we've all as a community probably been racing on it for years and years and years. And it is a simple layout, but I do find that it's one of those tracks where it is actually very difficult to master, just with everything being so fast, and then your breaking points have to be so precise in clipping your apexes properly to maximize your speed into the long straights. It takes a real skill to master that track fully.
And it's one that produces some great racing. I think that's, to be honest, that's the thing that also drives me in about sim racing. That I'm more of I know a lot of sim racing guys are not necessarily video gamers of other kinds. I can
Mm.
tell by looking at their Steams. Uh, um, which is something I do differ on because I do play a lot of other games. But sim racing has a replayable quality to it because you very much are playing against people.
Mhm.
So you can go to the same track, same car combination 100 times and get 100 different experiences, and that is a big thing that draws me to it, anyways. And that's why Monza to me doesn't really bother me. The tracks that bother me are more anti-competitive tracks to a certain
Mm.
degree. Macau comes to
Okay.
mind.
Yeah, another good one.
Um, or tracks where you just can't get that thrill. But
Mhm.
Monza definitely, I feel like it definitely does, and I think it's also a track that people generally know fairly well. So you end
Mhm.
up with reasonable racing on that regard as well.
Yeah, you definitely do. It is a lot more competitive in that regard because the knowledge is there from previous titles and past racing, so it's a lot easier for people to push themselves harder and be competitive on.
Uh-huh. What about your favorite cars to race or to look at? Whatever, like just favorite cars in general.
Favorite cars? Oh, I mean, I'm a big Lamborghini fan, obviously, as you
Mm-hmm.
can tell from ACC. Even outside of GT3 racing, I'm a big Lambo fan, and I'm a huge fan of the Nissan GTR. I just love it.
I think everybody is secretly a fan of the Nissan GTR. I think it's a car. It's a car that gets a lot of love despite not necessarily ever being the right choice.
In a racing sense for GT racing, no, it's never really the right choice, but they also don't have the support going into it that a lot of these bigger teams do. So, I mean, if they were to get the support, maybe they could do something, but somebody's got to be willing to take that risk and invest in it, see what they can actually do.
Well, I mean that would at the end of the day be Nissan's call to a certain
Hmm.
degree. Just talking the politics of the race world right now. Unfortunately,
Absolutely.
it is
Absolutely.
it is it is it does start with the manufacturer to put the cash in, because I mean we saw with Emile Frey trying to keep Jaguar alive long after Jaguar stopped caring about its racing heritage.
Yeah.
Uh, it's an uphill battle.
Yeah, it is. It certainly is. And again, it goes back to what I said earlier about it just needing to have deep pockets and being very expensive to run a team or any kind of car for that matter.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's why there's so many gentlemen drivers in the world of GT racing, particularly.
Yep.
And really in any kind of motorsport outside of, I mean, to a degree F1, but I've always said it, F1, you bring deep pockets. It's what gets me into trouble with talking about people who like to crap on our Canadian driving contingent of Lance Stroll and Nicholas Latifi, who, to be clear, have very rich daddies, and that's why they're in F1. But um, that's a common element of getting there.
And absolutely it is. I mean, you want to play on the biggest stage in the world, you got to bring something for somebody to believe in you. And at the end of the day, money talks. So,
Absolutely. You need the talent as well because F1's a super license based.
absolutely.
F1 is the only um, motorsport that you absolutely cannot buy your way into. I mean, someone's gonna be like, "Oh, well, Stroll's bought a team or whatever." But what I mean by that is that there is that absolute capability component that has to be there. You have
Right.
to be able to qualify for a super license, which means you've had to have at some point proven yourself to be at
Mhm.
least an above average driver.
Oh, for sure.
Um, to be, to put a bow on it, I guess. If Jeff Bezos's kid, and I don't know if Jeff Bezos has kids, but it was the richest person that came to mind. If Jeff Bezos's kid wanted to race in F1, he couldn't actually make it happen unless that kid had a modicum of talent. It helps, obviously, you get the best coaches in the world, best equipment, and fund it well. But at some point, there is a talent box that has to be checked.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, let's face it, there's only 20 drivers out of 20 people out of 7 billion people in this world that get to do what these guys do. I mean, you have to be absolutely something special to even have a small chance to even get to there. So it's a talent that obviously not very many people can even dream of possessing.
Normally, I talk about future plans, but admittedly, you're in a little bit of a hiatus. You're Mika Hakkinen
I
circa
am.
2002,
I am.
taking a sabbatical and hopefully coming back. Unlike Mika, um, do you have any thoughts on the upcoming ESR events? Anyone you're cheering for, or you think that there's a breakout star on the horizon?
I mean, I'll be honest, I haven't really like my hiatus has been very big. I really haven't even been following the form. I don't personally even know who's really signing up right now. But I do know like if Paul Riccobendi's running again. I know Chris Johnson's running at 3D speed. I mean, both of those guys are unbelievably quick. Um, Either one of those could easily walk away with that championship.
I think they're rated as the two, but I have a sneaking suspicion Dominic Turcotte might be a guy
Yeah,
to keep in mind. He's
he.
apparently he only ran the Bentley last season because the guys wanted him to join him, and he didn't like the car apparently. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do in the Porsche that he has selected to run this coming season. So that'll be
Yeah,
interesting.
no, that definitely will be. I mean, he is definitely a fast driver. Even in that Bentley, he was. I know he was somebody I was definitely keeping an eye on. And I know in the test races, I think he was running a Mercedes for last season, and he was mighty quick in that too. So he's a definite threat.
Maybe the third head in there. Don't know about anybody else. We got some new faces, so you never know. We'll see what happens. Some very very new, very quick elements of the academy coming on through, which is interesting. Quinn Smith, Jake Northrup, Matt Howell
Okay.
coming up in the world. So
Okay.
it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Maybe an actual full time campaign from your former teammate Matt Higgs.
Let's hope so, because if he shows up consistently, he's a threat to obviously put some results up too if he shows up.
Oh, indeed, very, very much so. I mean, particularly any series in ESR with Mike Stoppmill absent is always a little up for grabs. Very interesting to go with.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, so we talked about historical sims, and we've touched on current sims, but give me your thoughts on the big ones. We've got, of course, iRacing. We've got Assetto Corsa Competizione, Race Room, Assetto Corsa Original Recipe, Automobilista, Project Cars, whatever your poison is, R Factor. Uh, what do you know? What do you what have you competed in? What do you see as the advantages, the cons, the mixture? What would you take from each game to come up with your ideal sim, sort of thing?
Oh boy. I mean, the last while I've basically been focusing on ACC and iRacing, uh, just iRacing mainly for the dirt things, just given my family history and everything with a close relation to dirt ovals. But my main thing has been focusing on ACC the whole time. I played a bit of Automobilista, the first one, um, which I really enjoyed. Uh, I don't know if I would necessarily take anything out of that and bring it into another sim. And I feel like ACC has got GT3 and everything down very well. Um, I don't really know if I would want to merge any sims together to be truthful about that.
So you enjoy the variety, the spice,
I
the
do.
variance of the experience.
I do, yeah. Because when I look at like even just a Assetto Corsa, for example, I'll use that to do any Formula One mods, right? Because I feel that they have the best representation of the current Formula One cars. Uh, Whereas if I want to do GT3 racing, I'm going straight to ACC. There's just no questions about it. That's my go-to. And if I just want to do some hot laps in a random car, race room is where I go, just for the pure sound and just raw sound and driving of the car.
Excellent, excellent. All right. I don't have a ton else. Do you have anything you want to plug? Anything you want to promote? Anything you want to tell us? Really, this is the floor is yours.
To be honest, no, I really don't. Like I said, I'm just taking a bit of hiatus from sim racing right now. I kind of burnt myself out the last few seasons, and I needed a break. So I just need to kind of clear my head and restart, I guess, if you will.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll make a return later in the season for 3D Speed. I don't know yet. I mean, it's as of right now, I don't see it happening this season, but a lot of things can change in
There's
a
always
couple days.
the 2021 Enduro calendar there.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly thought about that, but Saturdays are hard enough for me as it is, just
Fair
with
enough, fair enough.
life and whatnot. So I really don't want to commit to something that's has to be so structured and where you really need to make sure you're there for, even if it is once a month. My schedule changes a lot, so I don't want to let anybody down or cause any havoc for admins or anything like that. So I figured it's best just to kind of stay away.
I mean, the havoc will come with or without you. I assure you on this.
That I don't doubt, but I feel better if I know that I'm not the one causing it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Anyways, that was GT Challenge. I'm trying to remember which season you won. I think it was the first season, right?
Second, second season.
I thought the second season was Christoph.
Well, Christoph won it. I finished second. I finished
Okay.
5 points behind him.
All right. Well, maybe we gave you a champion moniker that we can't honestly actually play. So there you go. Um, anyways, this is that was Murray Ewonchuk, multi-time winner in the GT Challenge series, as well as a sporadic competitor in the 3D Speed series, who definitely turned some heads and established himself as a face that most people expected to see at the front. And when that doesn't happen, that's a surprise. And unfortunately, he's taking a bit of a sabbatical from sim racing. Hopefully, he comes back. Hopefully, the passion refines him and recaptures his interest and imagination.
Oh,
And look
there's
forward to it.
there's no doubt I'll be back. I just need a break. That's all.
Excellent, excellent. I mean, Mika Hakkinen said that as well. So I mean,
Uh,
you could be coming full cycle as the sim racing Mika Hakkinen.
let's hope not.
And of course, once again, I just this was a topic when you joined ESR. How do the pronunciation of your last name? I had it right the first time, correct?
Uh, I honestly don't remember, but it's
'Cause
actually pronounced Ewonchuk.
yeah, because I was saying Ewonchuk, and
Yeah.
Byron and I had a long debate on air about it being Ewanchuk, which was interesting.
No,
So,
I mean I've been called worse, but it's definitely Ewonchuk.
which I know where he was going with that. There's an MMA fighter with a very similar spelling to your name that
Okay.
the pronunciation works more like that. So I
Mm.
get where he was coming, but yeah, it did turn out I was right on that one. Oh, score one for Mike.
Make sure you remind him of that.
Oh, he doesn't care.
Still got to remind him.
Anyways, that was Murray Ewonchuk on the ESR Racers Corner. I'm going to be trying to get these up every 2 weeks. If you would like to be a guest on the ESR Racers Corner, feel free to contact me on the Discord. And there's no requirements. We will talk for. I think this is our shortest interview, but we generally try to limit it to about 40 minutes or so, 30 to 40 minutes. And you could definitely be on here. So there's that. And of course, Byron's the emergency guest plug at some point. So it'll happen. There'll be no racing talk during it, but
They're probably talking Cajun ribs or something, but it'll be entertaining nonetheless.
All right, so coming up on ESR, we've got tomorrow the 3D Speed Series, the Winter 2021 kicks off. That will. I'm not sure if that's going to be broadcasted live on Twitch or YouTube or anything. I think it'll be done. The commentary, anyways, will be done in post, but there may be a live feed for the race if anyone's into that. Although I have always asked the question, why is anyone watching the race live when you could be participating? But so we got that coming up. We got the Enduro coming up at the end of the month. Right now, Race Room, we're waiting for a big announcement about a touring car series coming up. And also, myself and Byron have been asked to be the English commentary for an actual Race Room associated series, like with the actual game developers. So that'll be interesting and fun. And that's coming up, I think, on it's the 23rd or the 28th. I can't remember. But anyways, later in January. And also we have the usual stuff coming up throughout the course of the week. GT Challenge, the ESR Academy, and various things also with R Factor, Assetto Corsa, and Race Room. So if you're interested in joining us, please do. The Discord link will be in the description below. So thanks for taking the time to do this, Murray, and to all the viewers. I don't know. I need to come up with a snazzy like sign off phrase. So if you got one, leave it in the comments below.